Welcome to the HCG Quick Tip. Attribute dimensions, do I have them and how do I use them? Connect with HCG on the web at www.harbinger-group.com or give us a call at 763-785-1028. Anytime you do an initial ad hoc analysis in SmartView into an Essbase database, you will receive the number of dimensions that are in that database, the number of standard dimensions. In this database, I happen to have 5 dimensions: year, measures, product, market, and scenario. And I can display my point of view dimensions either in row 1, or if I press the POV toggle, I can display them in the POV toolbar over here. But I'll leave it on the grid for right now. So, what are attribute dimensions? Well, they describe a standard dimension and allow further analytic capabilities on that dimension. For instance, I might have products that are sold in certain package types or sold in certain beverage sizes, or I might have markets that are new markets and old markets and small markets and so forth. So by having attribute dimensions, I have further analytic capabilities. But for you as an end user, how do you know whether you have them or not? And the simple answer is this. If you have one of the newer versions of SmartView and you select a dimension, any dimension, and go to Member Selection and click the Dimension drop down here, you'll see that there are my 5 standard dimensions: year, measures, product, market, and scenario. But then I see other dimensions below here. Anything below your initial dimensions that you've retrieved on the grid are then attribute dimensions. And you just have to figure out which attribute dimensions allow further analytic capabilities on what other dimension. So in this case, I'm betting that caffeinated describes product, as do ounces describe product. Same with package type. But I'm betting population describes my market dimension, and intro date I may or may not be sure of. Well, the next question is, how do you bring them into your report once you have them? Well, here's one method that I use. I insert a column, and so I have a spot open before year there, and then I go to Member Selection, and again, I select now from Member Selection the attribute dimension I want to use. And I'm only going to bring over package type. I'm not going to bring over bottle and can at this point. And there you see that I have package type. And when I zoom in on it, I now have an analysis of my products by the package type. I'm going to pivot year back up to the top here. And let's say I go into measures and profit and margin, and maybe I'm only concerned with the sales, cost of goods sold, and the margin. So I need to undo what I just did and select, this time, keep only as opposed to remove only. So now I have an analysis of how my total products did across all package types and how they did across certain bottles and cans. So that's how you know whether you have them or not and how to bring them into your database, into your grid, I should say. And besides that, there's another thing that you can add, but you have to know how to type this. If I go in here and I type in attribute calculations, that's another attribute dimension that you can only use when you have an attribute dimension on display. And when I zoom in on it, you see I get a sum count, average, minimum, and maximum. If I move these to the inside here, close but not quite, I'll switch it around and move those to the outside. You can see that I can see how my bottles did, sum, count. So there's my sum of my bottles sold, the count of my bottles sold, and obviously 270,000 divided by 10 is 27,000. So forth and so on, minimum and maximum. So that's another thing you can do with attribute dimensions. Contact me, Craig Mesmering, if you have any questions about training on Essbase, SmartView, financial reporting, planning, etc., and contact HCG if you have any interest in both training and or consulting services. Thanks for viewing.